Oh, alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the round of 2 game, gameslayer versus indecision. Right now, game number 2. It's currently 1-0 for gameslayer, and of course, I'm joined by the wonderful, wonderful Zoltar.
Hi everybody, I'm here.
There we are.
Ish.
Yeah. So gameslayer right now, he's actually finding a lot of iron, water, and silicon. Actually, gonna go down as a scientific. I kind of feel it more than last game, definitely. Indecision, kind of indecisive as what he's going to go. I actually can see him go down as a scavenger. It's going to be a rematch of last game. And there we go, scavenger found.
Exactly. Roles slightly swapped around, but still, once again, scientific colony and a scavenger colony. Definitely things that players seem to favor in the 1v1s if they can pull it off.
I'm actually excited for this one now. I do believe this is an even match game now. Definitely.
Oh yeah, it's pretty close. Oh wow, we're gonna have a race for this aluminum tile.
Gameslayer got it.
Does Gameslayer? Yeah, it looks like Gameslayer does have it.
Ooh, there we go.
Yep,
Yeah, so Gameslayer already level 2. That I need to see. That was lucky because that was his level 2. One of his level 2 claims. He's also going to go ahead and get a silicon tile. Well, indecision. Just flames.
Well, he's got 5 claims. He went ahead and pushed to an upgrade without getting any aluminum established yet, and we'll just have to see what he can manage to pull off.
Ooh, aluminum already at 36. That's quite a bit. That's quite a lot.
Yeah, no big surprise though. That's pretty much what we see at the start of almost every single game of Offworld these days.
Yeah,
is just
true.
Everybody just kind of buys the aluminum they need to hit level 1 instead of buying the steel like they used to when Expansive was so popular because it was broken, overpowered, and these days aluminum almost always jumping up to close to $40 at the start of a game.
Yeah, and also you can see it's slightly better, and also thinking machine. Thinking machine.
This is huge. This is huge. This is such a good patent. Nobody understands the value of this patent yet.
It's
such
true.
a good patent. Oh, this game's... Okay, okay. These players are valuing it. They're pushing it. I think it can go a lot higher than this, quite frankly. Like, I would push this one, since I've already seen that fuel is up at a good $500 value for Offworld, for example. Then I think I would push this one all the way to like 24, 28,000. Yeah, okay, we're seeing that out of these players.
Okay, so
they
since,
do know
since
that
you
this
said,
is important.
Most players don't understand the value of this patent. Please explain.
Well, it's just so good, right? I mean, for example, if you're Gameslayer, you've already got the scientific bonus attached to whatever it is you want to do. Your opponent is Scavenger. He can throw a black market at you, but just this basic idea of if you know you're going to have thinking machines, especially this early in the game, and you can plan around, I am going to have thinking machines, then you can set up your buildings around you in such a way so that they really can't be assaulted. You can ignore goon squads, you can force your opponent to still purchase into the black market, but have it not be particularly effective. And most importantly, when you push into those advanced buildings, the engineering lab, the hacker array, the Offworld in this game, especially the Offworld, you can still go on just unimpeded, even if goon squads get to costing $20,000, $30,000, because nobody can afford to keep knocking them down compared to the cheap, cheap price of you reconstructing them. And if a mutiny happens to hit as a scientific player, especially on an Offworld, when you've already got thinking machines, it lasts for no period of time whatsoever. You can completely ignore it. Nobody's going to get a send off of that. And it just makes you almost completely immune to black market if you're a scientist. Now, as a scavenger, that's a little bit less true since you don't already have that initial half occurring, but it can still get a lot of work done. And you still have the same basic principles, just not quite as powerful.
That was a very good explanation. As glass gets shorted, this is actually hurting both players right now. Gameslayer says, "Meh, I already got silicon tiles. Let's go ahead and get some glass furnaces up." Indecision. What I kind of think interesting is he actually spent 2 claims right now on aluminum. To just even it up with Gameslayer's his production. Well,
yeah, 3 aluminum a second. Not bad.
I don't know, like 2 claims.
Well, I mean, aluminum is almost $40 right now.
That is,
so.
yeah. But like for how long? That's the question.
Usually in a 1v1, you can kind of predict it because aluminum almost always jumps up in phases, right? As people are upgrading, as they're planting down new buildings. So aluminum, maybe it's not the most valuable resource, but it is very easy to predict most of the time, at least, which can be really, really nice.
So right now, a mutiny going down onto Gameslayer's aluminum. Indecision right now. Do you have the feeling he's going to sell it right away, or just going to stockpile it for later on?
I have no idea what Indecision's plan is with that mutiny. I feel like he's just kind of honed in on this idea of, well, I can get a kind of pseudo-monopoly for a time. So maybe I'll do that, and I'll stockpile a whole bunch, and I'll try and like drive my opponent into taking some extra aluminum. I don't really know. But overall, I still feel like it was a huge misplay because, frankly, his opponent is a scientist with 3 glass furnaces down that have like 50 glass apiece in 2 of them right now. And glass is $132, so whatever his plan is, it's definitely not stealing 60 glass from his opponent worthy. And that's kind of just unfortunate.
Also good to see Indecision is going to go ahead, take this auction for $20,000 for the geothermal. This is a very, very valuable auction, because now he doesn't need to spend a claim on the power for a very long time. Gameslayer is just starting to use a lot of power, since he's already using 1.5 power tick. Oh, sorry, 2.1. That's
2.1. $200 of debt per second just from power right now.
And he's
in total closer to
another
300.
Reactor too. Another reactor. The aluminum mine is still mutinied. That's wow.
That's going to push his power consumption pretty high.
I think they're going to even out quite a bit because Indecision right now, with the stock price not looking so hot, but since Gameslayer doesn't have any power up yet, I think that's going to level out in about a minute or so.
Yeah, Indecision moving into these very, very valuable geotherms is going to pay off his debt quite rapidly. So we'll have to see how that works out later in the game when it's possible that Gameslayer is going to push himself into a corner where he has to pay off debt, but power's already come down from Indecision's geotherms, and everything just starts getting a little bit awkward for Gameslayer. Unless he manages to push to 8. But a power surplus changes everything.
That power surplus, I think this is bad luck for Indecision. I think this is very, very good for Gameslayer. He's probably happy right now.
Oh yeah.
If it goes down by quite a bit, I don't really see him going to power anytime soon, just because then he's not really paying that much. He'd rather go into life support.
Food.
Yeah, food.
Yeah, food
now.
shortage. It's the obvious option right now.
So,
yeah. Super, super easy to just make that move into food, start making all that money. And if he truly got to the point where he thought he needed power, steel's only $35 right now, he can pretty easily make that transition in the short term and make something work from it.
Indecision right now, I don't know. I never can agree with 2 adjacent buildings. I think it always needs to be a triangle. That's just me. How do you feel about this?
Most of the time, yeah, I agree. It feels like he's gotten himself shoved into a little bit of a corner by never reacting to that glass shortage in particular. And that's maybe why he's ended up with his buildings the way he did. Obviously, he turned his carbon production into farms, which is definitely a good move. But I would like to see him expand on these established buildings, go ahead and get all those tiles set up that he can very, very soon, so that he's not being hurt by adjacency.
He's going to get a 3rd geothermal. Ooh,
Wow.
and slant drilling right now as not going up as an auction. I do believe Gameslayer needs this right here. He needs this.
It's definitely good for him.
Because all of his life support is not really on water. Like, it's not, how can I say, most efficient.
Yeah, he has 3 buildings right now that would immediately get a pretty big boon from, or maybe even more than that, depending on his steel. No, his steel should be fine. It's just not making him much because power's so expensive.
Yeah,
but yeah, 3 buildings that
food,
immediately upon
reactors.
acquiring slant drilling wouldn't be having to pay stuff anymore. You're exactly right there.
That's really nice for Gameslayer right now. Like, only 20,000. Wait, what? Indecision got it for 20,000.
Yeah, Indecision's the one who takes it.
Sorry.
Indecision is the one who takes it. He doesn't get any benefit out of this anytime soon, unfortunately. He's just mostly focused on taking it away from Gameslayer, and I think that might have been too much of a push. Indecision already in a situation where half of his stock has disappeared, taking on an extra 20,000 debt, not something that is going to be working in his favor at all. And I'm really worried that he may have just killed himself with a move like that.
But both players are kind of even in debt, so it's
Yeah,
not
but one of
too
them only
bad,
has
but
more free stock.
Yeah, exactly. I just want to say, but Gameslayer, he already has 80% in Indecision right now, while Indecision isn't making all too much money. He is purchasing water for his farms. On reactors, he's not making too much money. Just keep himself afloat. But then again, Gameslayer, he still has glass. He can't even upgrade to level 5. But I don't really. Yeah, he's probably not going to do that.
Yeah, I don't see that happening anytime soon.
But overall, Gameslayer right now has the stock advantage and still the production advantage.
Definitely. I'm very concerned. Indecision has basically put himself into a situation where he needs to commit all of his money, as much as he can, into purchasing Gameslayer right now. He needs to just constantly be selling food, constantly making these stock purchases, trying to force Gameslayer into a position where he needs to go ahead and move into the upgrade that he's made a little bit difficult for himself, that he needs to defend himself with his cash instead of going immediately for the indecision kill, which he is just so very close to.
The problem is for indecision, water's already at 70, and he needs to buy so much water to make this even work. That's
the red button.
Ooh, and Gameslayer.
Gameslayer's going to take it. So, that game, I would say Gameslayer doing a much better job of taking advantage of random effects. Immediately getting into glass when that shortage goes down. Not even thinking about it. Just goes ahead and throws it down. Indecision with no punish whatsoever. Power getting surplused for indecision definitely was painful that game. It just... Gameslayer making the right moves around the random stuff that was thrown at him that map. Takes an easy victory.
Damn. I mean, GG well played to indecision. Was a good run for him in the tournament. Came into round number 2 of the 16-man tournament. So congratulations to him for sure.
Yeah.
Gameslayer. So Gameslayer moves on to the semifinals. Congratulations. But he's facing P-Beast. How do you feel about that matchup? That's going to be a great matchup.
PB wins 1v1s. Like, just what he does. He wins 1v1s. Period. I mean,
although versus PB, I'm 3-4. Okay, I got 3 wins
exactly.
over PB. So
exactly. So we won 4 times.
Yeah. Still.
That's all you got to do is win one more than your opponent most of the time, and you'll be okay. As long as you don't just get knocked out right off the bat, you'll be good to go. Now, Gameslayer will give him a challenge, I think.
Oh,
if Gameslayer plays like he did, especially in that second game, Gameslayer knew exactly what to do. He just took that game and ran with it and said, this is mine now. You don't get to play. And if he can pull that off against PB, then that'll be a match. But I still think PB is going to be the one to take it at the end of the day, as long as he's been practicing. You hear that, PB? In chat? Yeah? Okay.
And Gameslayer feels confident versus PB. That's going to be a good matchup for sure. But you can see right now for indecision, he made money on power. Gameslayer lost a lot of money on power, but overall, I don't know. Gameslayer made a lot more money, but he has a lot more debt income, you could say.
Yeah. And that game, I think, definitely showed how you need to kind of play around debt. This idea that, yeah, Gameslayer took on a lot of debt. He never really put down any power of his own that game, I don't think. But instead, what ended up happening was, off of that early shortage, he made so much money that he could just grow so fast that it never mattered, because indecision never even had a chance to strike against him. And it just never caused any sort of problem for him, all that debt that he had.
So the black market usage, fairly interesting out of both players, because both players didn't really do much because the game was over so quick. Indecision only buying 2 dynamites and 1 mutiny, while Gameslayer got 1 claim and 1 mutiny. I want to talk about these 2 dynamites because I believe they weren't even worth anything. He used them one time onto the farms and one time onto the reactors. I think 1 EMP and 1 power surge would go way longer than those 2 dynamites.
Yeah, and if you're going to buy a single target effect against a scientist like that, I think it has to be the mutiny. You steal those resources and production for yourself. What you can do is you can buy a mutiny, wait 30 seconds as a scavenger, throw it down, buy a mutiny, throw it down. You steal huge numbers of resources from your opponent if you time it correctly, and suddenly you've got production down with adjacency bonuses that he's not getting for a while. I think Dynamite might have just been a bit of a misplay overall, especially because the buildings weren't all that far away from his opponent's headquarters, and so repairs weren't going to take that long.
Yeah. Overall, I think this was a very quick series for gameslayer. It was about average time. Gameslayer really, that game too, that definitely showed what he can do. So I'm not going to be surprised if he's going to beat PB.
I'll be a little surprised. I'll be a little surprised. I'll be honest. I think PB is going to take it still, but
if he plays like in game 2, I think.
But if anybody's going to beat PB, it would be gameslayer. Yeah. I'll throw that out too.
That's a good point.
Still though, well played series still by both players. Indecision, once again, it's one of those situations where if you're not going up against the best of the best, yeah, you'll easily take that win in that game. But when you are, you got to just step it up just a little bit more. Maybe not have those misclicks, because we have had it confirmed at this point that it was a mistake, that mutiny onto the aluminum. It was supposed to be a nuke, which I'm still not sure about. I still say the only black market to use against a scientist in the early game is those mutinies on his valuable resources. But at least we have confirmed that that wasn't exactly what the plan was, and the play probably would have gone a bit better if it hadn't that hadn't occurred.
All right.